What actor should play you in your biopic?
Cory Booker.
I promise we ask this question of every single candidate. What is your favorite curse word?
I'm so proud of you guys.
Never really got into Breaking Bad. I tried.
Tread lightly.
Not into any of the superhero movies.
What?
When I was campaigning across Texas and talking about the need to pass sensible gun legislation, I would always add, if you have an assault rifle and you're using it responsibly, keep it. And I've since come to the conclusion, especially after what happened in El Paso, that buying those weapons back is fundamental to reduce gun violence in this country. Someone had asked me about mandatory licensing, and my immediate response was, that goes too far. And the more I've thought about it on my own, it makes total sense to me. And I would include mandatory registration of every single firearm that's owned in this country. I think that's necessary for us to be able to save the lives of our fellow Americans. I was at the White House as a member of Congress. I knew that my kids would ask me if I had met the president yet, and I wanted to make sure that I could tell them that I did. So I went up to shake President Obama's hand as he was surrounded by a scrum of House members. And he reached out and he grabbed my hand and we locked eyes, and then somebody tapped him on the shoulder, but our hands were still connected. And we were holding hands for what felt like 5 hours, but I just didn't know if I was supposed to let go or he was supposed to let go first. He's the President of the United States. Eventually, I had a chance to introduce myself, but that was probably the last time that I was truly in awe of somebody. Yes. Every member of Congress from El Paso, going back 50 or 60 years, has sat on the House Armed Services Committee. El Paso's home to Fort Bliss, 32,000 active duty service members. It's a city within a city and should have a seat on the Armed Services Committee. I asked to be on the House Veterans Affairs Committee, House Armed Services Committee, and was approved for the former, and I was denied for the latter. Why? There was a lot of concern that I wouldn't be able to raise the campaign cash when you're on the Armed Services Committee. You're expected to call the Raytheons, the Northrop Grummans, the Boeings, those corporations who have business before your committee of jurisdiction, and ask them for contributions from their political action committees so that you can meet your dues to the DCCC, so that you can win re-election. But in so doing, I believe you compromise yourself. You add to the corruption, even if it's illegal, of our Congress, and skew our priorities in favor of those who can pay for access and influence and outcomes. I really love Instagram. I took a picture of a receipt at a restaurant in Iowa, and at the bottom of the receipt it said, "Your meal was prepared and served by immigrants." It told a truth that more people need to hear in this country.
When you were in the city council, you talked about rethinking the war on drugs, putting aside cannabis policy, where your thinking on that is today, on injection sites, on legalization of heroin.
In 2009, Juarez was quickly becoming the deadliest city on the planet. There were two conclusions you could draw. One, bad people killing bad people. That was the view of a lot of people, and frankly, probably the view of the government of the United States. Or you could understand that we had some culpability. We're the largest illegal drug market in the world. I had an understanding that marijuana, cannabis was the cornerstone crop of these cartels, and so when on the fly we wrote an amendment to a resolution that had been presented to City Council. I talked about narcotics, not really knowing that that did not cover marijuana and might describe heroin or other drugs. But let me say this, in addition to ending the prohibition on marijuana, we have to end the war on drugs overall. We have to treat those who are using, abusing, addicted, run the risk of overdosing on any number of illegal drugs, not as a criminal justice issue, but as a public health opportunity.
And the question is, how do you feel about NFL players who take a knee during the national anthem?
Wasn't expecting it, had not had to answer that question before, so I just spoke my mind.
My short answer is no. I don't think it's disrespectful. Here's my longer answer, but I'm gonna try to make sure that I get this right.
Even if people disagree with you, if you're speaking your mind, if you're honest, there's something powerful in that. Last night, I got 2 or 3. The night before that, 3 or 4. Would love to get 6 on a regular basis. When we were campaigning in Texas, I expressed a desire to go to college campuses, community colleges, and HBCUs, and high schools. Young people who represent such a large part of the population in Texas, but such a small part of the population that actually votes. And for that reason, my team pushed back. And my response to that was, I wouldn't vote either if no one had shown up for me. They showed up for us. In early voting in Texas, in a midterm election, their turnout was up 500%. No, I'm running to be president of the United States. I'm running to serve this country as the leader that we need and are missing right now. If for whatever reason I am not the nominee, I will support the nominee and ensure that they are successful in defeating Donald Trump and in bringing this country together again. I will do everything I can to support the nominee for U.S. Senate against John Cornyn in Texas. I'll do everything that I can for my state, for my community, and for my country, but I will not pursue public office. I'm pursuing a plan called Medicare for America. This will get us to universal health care. It ensures that everyone who doesn't have insurance today is enrolled in Medicare immediately. Those who are insufficiently insured, they are able to elect to move into Medicare. But for those who have insurance plans that work for them and their families, they can keep those healthcare plans. I was on the city council in El Paso, and we were visiting high school students, and a young man stood up and he said, "I'm gay, and I'm not treated like everybody else. What's up with that?" And I didn't have a great answer for it. Ultimately went back and wrote an ordinance to ensure that the same-sex partners of city employees were afforded health care benefits just like every other city employee. I was just in Odessa in Midland yesterday, the second community in West Texas to suffer a mass shooting in just 1 month period. Like El Paso, I got to visit with families who lost a loved one, a woman whose brother was shot and killed. His son, locked eyes with the killer before he raised his AR-15 and killed his dad. Met a mom whose 15-year-old daughter was killed. Her son was injured as he raised his hand, the bullet passing through, and described to me watching her daughter bleed to death. This is a question we all need to ask ourselves. What are the political hits we're willing to endure? What are we willing to sacrifice in terms of our own prospects in this election, and make sure that we can look ourselves in the mirror, look our kids in the eye, and know that we did the right thing while we still had time. Our ability to successfully confront climate change is fundamental to our ability to address anything else. The consequences of climate change are already being felt by millions of people around the world, very often in the most vulnerable, in the poorest communities. In the United States, very often communities of color. It must be met with the urgency that it demands. I probably get too angry too quickly, especially at home, and don't want to do that around our kids, so that would be a habit I'd want to change. My wife Amy and I are going to celebrate 14 years of marriage. We still love each other so much and can crack each other up and can give each other a hard time, give each other when we're off course and not being true to who we are. I don't know that in a country of 330 million people that is comprised of people from every possible background and biography, that any one candidate in their own biography is going to capture the genius of America. I think what we want as a country is someone who's going to go to everyone and represent and reflect their experiences. Does not matter, no me importa, Republican, Democrat, even if you can vote because of your status or your involvement with the criminal justice system or because you just didn't think it mattered. I want to listen to you and I want to bring you into this, and I want to make sure that our administration reflects the true genius and diversity of this country.
More 2020 candidates are coming your way. Drop us a comment below and let us know what you'd like to ask them. You can also check out more presidential contenders in our full 20 Questions for 2020 playlist. And be sure to subscribe to NowThis so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for watching.